Let's retire and buy an RV and travel the world. Sounds great to a lot of folks, but what you can't do is underestimate the costs associated with that plan. This couple in this scenario we'll talk about today is feeling the stress and the heat that the RV that they purchased is bringing into their financial scenario. Hey, welcome to Rise in Retirement. I'm Jet. He's Taco. We're jumping right into it today, and we've got Ron and Val.
Yep.
Who saved well. They are in a great position financially for retirement. And like many that we've talked to and that we've met over the years, their goal, one of them in retirement, was to travel the world. They're campers. All right. So they bought an awesome RV as part of their retirement plan. And just a short while into the retirement, now they're feeling the stress of the additional cost that this RV is bringing into their scenario.
Yeah. Yeah. And we see this a lot, right? And it's a lot of times people are traveling truly the world, the international trips while they're still working and getting that time. Ron and Val said, hey, we haven't seen a lot of things here domestically, and this is a good way to go do this. And let's go through some details. Ron's 69, Val's 67. They have about $910,000 built up. About 65% of that is pre-tax and IRAs. 25% in brokerage account, and 10% is in cash, things of that nature, right? So their monthly income goal, their baseline, this is when they went to retirement. Hey, these are the expenses.
Without the camping desires.
Correct. $7,000 gross. Okay. Taxes are built into that too. So they're netting probably somewhere in that $5,500 a month take home, living pretty frugal. That's what they spend, right? They've got $3,250 per month coming in from Social Security. Now we talk, they go get this RV, right? And so there's a $720 per month loan payment that they're
Financed
it. Mm-hmm. They got about $60,000 left to pay off on that. Okay. Between insurance, storage, maintenance, fuel, camping fees.
Using it,
right? Yeah. It's about $1,030 in addition to that loan.
Mm-hmm.
So all in,
that's per month.
So that's a total RV cost of about $1,750 per month that they're spending in addition to that $7,000 baseline. Okay, yep. So new spending now jumps up to $8,750 a month, meaning our withdrawal need is actually now $5,500 a month from the investments. That's what they have to take.
That's the shortfall.
Prior to the RV, Jet, they went into retirement with about a 4.9% withdrawal rate based on those $7,000 income need and the
coming in.
Yeah, and the $910,000. With the RV now and the expenses that came with it, 7.2% is what that withdrawal rate is. So there's some planning challenges that I think we can bring up here and talk about. And I'll just start since I'm talking here, but I think it creates overspending.
Give me a chance to talk. I'm on this show too.
Yeah, no, I'm
overspending.
Overspending, right? These are now kind of permanent budget items. They made the big commitment. They bought the RV. It's there. So the overspending, the withdrawal rate, we talk about this a lot on the show, right? It's a huge component that we have to look at from a sustainability standpoint. Can it last throughout retirement? They're now up over 7%, which is worrisome.
Unfortunately, and you might be watching thinking like, how did this happen? Well, it's a lot more common than you would think. They probably had a pretty good handle on the shortfall without the RV, and they felt pretty good about their situation, so they went out and bought the RV. They had it in their plans anyway, and now they underestimated the expenses that come along with it.
Yeah.
I don't know Ron and Val's history with RVs. Maybe they've never done this before. Maybe they didn't do enough research on all the costs that go along with doing what they were going to do. But here's the reality. They're in it. And so, another challenge that I'll bring up is what we'll call stress years. What about repairs to the RV?
Yeah.
What about breakdowns? What about, hey, we want to do an extra trip or two this year because we had such a great time last year doing this? What about things that happen outside of the RV?
Yeah.
Because there's still life, right? I mean, you can't underestimate, home repairs. They still have a dwelling.
Right.
They might not be staying at it very often because they're out on the road, but all the additional potential withdrawal needs or random expenses or random occurrences can stress this plan even more.
Yeah. If you're listening right now and you're going, I'm not too into RVs, I'm not worried about this video, replace RV with boat. And we're having the same conversation.
Might be way worse, actually.
Maybe worse with some of those one-offs.
What's the acronym for boat? I can't remember it. Nevertheless, they call it a money pit.
Yeah.
Right. I've owned a boat before. You might as well throw money into the water.
Yep.
That's how the boat works. So
last challenge is really the lifestyle and the emotional maybe attachment versus just the math. And Ron, this was his dream. He sees the RV. I want to go, to all the national parks. I want to go do all these things in my RV and live out of this RV. Val calls it a bill. Like she just thinks it's an expense and she's being dragged along for the ride. So, there's conflict between the two, whether this is sustainable. They both enjoy it. Don't get me wrong, but it eats at her a little more as far as worrying about their retirement a little bit.
Head over to riseandretirement.com. If this scenario that we're going through right now is hitting you, you're thinking about a scenario, what your retirement's going to look like. You want to get a better understanding of, hey, I don't want the same thing to happen to me that's happening to Ron and Val. Go to riseandretirement.com. You can request a 30-minute consultation with an advisor on our team. It's a phone appointment, absolutely complimentary. Schedule that appointment and let's walk through your scenario. We can give you a red light, green light, yellow light assessment like we're going to do with Ron and Val. There's a lot of free guides on the page, so make sure you check that out before we go, before the end of the day here.
Love it. So, Jet, why don't you speak to some of the strategies that, if you were sitting down with Ron and Val, they're in this situation coming to you. What can be done without totally, making them feel like they can't live their retirement the way they want to?
Taco, the first one I'm going to talk about is probably not the one that Ron and Val want to hear.
Yeah.
It's sell the RV and switch to a rental travel plan. This should have been thought about on the front end.
Sure.
Rather than buying the RV and owning it, rent an RV a couple times a year. Pre-plan you can have an RV travel bucket. You can have an RV annual expense for these trips. So the first thing, maybe you do 2 pre-planned trips a year. You set a travel budget for that. It controls your expenses. You don't have to worry about maintenance. You don't have to worry about breakdowns. You don't have to worry about storage. You don't have to worry about all these different things that cost that monthly withdrawal to go up. Again, probably not the one that they're going to want to use. But ultimately, here's what it does. Imagine you do 2 pre-planned trips a year, $4,000 travel budget. Your baseline is still $7,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's about $333 a month, let's say, for that travel budget. So now your withdrawal rate with the RV and all those expenses was over 7%. You're bringing your withdrawal rate down to 5.38, 5.4%.
Yeah.
So that's a much better withdrawal rate long term. It's not going to stress the plan out as much. They're not going to have as much freedom. They probably won't be able to travel on it as much as they would like to or the way they envisioned it. But if they're really worried about the financial stress long term, that's probably number one strategy.
Gets them back into a yellow, kind of greenish. I would say if they went that route.
Ron's probably going to scoff at me for giving him that advice. So we're going to move on to strategy number 2.
Yeah. I said there's a balance. They finance this thing. So obviously as an advisor, you look at, hey, what are the feasibilities of, freeing up some cash flow? So they're paying $720 a month just for the loan. So we ran a scenario and said, hey, if the loan gets paid off, we take $60,000 out of the portfolio, eliminate that $720 a month. RV costs now drop from the $1,750 down to $1,030 a month. So the new spend is about little over $8,000, along with the base expenses, meaning we have a $4,780 per month shortfall, which gets the withdrawal rate down to 6.75. Not super safe, but obviously still a little better than the 7.25. They are 69 and 67, Jet. So I don't want to be doom and gloom, but we want them to enjoy their life while they can. So still a a potential there, right? They're trading off some liquidity because they lost 60,000 from the portfolio. But at least we eliminated that 720 cash flow.
Yeah, and for anyone thinking out there, just pay it off, get rid of the expenses. Well, that doesn't help the withdrawal rate all that much. If you're still sitting at a 6.75% annual withdrawal rate,
yeah,
you made a slight improvement.
Yeah,
I'll take it. But talk about number. There's a third strategy that we want to go through. I want you to talk about this. This is probably the best way to look at this.
Yeah,
because and the strategy is set a defined timeline for this expense that we're talking about, which is RV.
Yep.
What does that do to their scenario, and how do you internalize that?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we could do is have a plan that they could use any of these options. They could just stay the path they're on. They could sell it, switch to the travel budget type of thing. They could pay off the balance. But ultimately, it's setting the timeline now of how long are we going to do this? Again, I keep going back. They're 69 and 67. We talk about the go-go years all the time, right? Where it's you're in retirement, go spend, do the things you want to do while you can and while you're healthy. And so if we set a plan that said, hey, we're going to do this for the next 8 to 10 years, from 69 to 76, 77, whatever it may be for Ron, go travel. You're going to be able to see a lot in 8 years. Sure. if you got that time, right? The plan gets a whole heck of a lot better when you're front loading it and saying, hey, yeah, we're spending more. We have a higher withdrawal rate early on, but eventually we're going to be able to sell this thing off because we're not going to use it anyways. Now, I don't know that they're going to get a ton back for it, but they'll get something. But now all of those expenses are gone.
Yeah.
And I think the plan can be pretty sustainable. The other thing that I'll mention with all of these, and we've seen this before too, is that baseline expense of $7,000. They very well could see those expenses come down while they're doing all the traveling, the RV traveling. Now, as an advisor, I would tell them to have a plan that makes sure that, hey, you do have all your baseline expenses, but there's a good chance while you're out on the road, your groceries are a little less, and some of your utilities at your house are going to be a little less now that you're out on the road more often. So there's a potential that 7,000 will actually be a little lower, and this whole thing could be sustainable as well.
That's where a good sanity check on the initial budget is really important too. I'll end with that, because if the advisor that's guiding them here, if we're guiding Ron and Val here, and they bring in, hey, without the RV, it's $7,000 a month. We want to ask them, did you anticipate the decrease in some of the expenses in that $7,000 monthly budget,
right,
while you're out on the road?
Yep.
Because maybe it's not $7,000 for 6 months out of the year while you're traveling. Maybe it's only $6,000 a month, right? So those types of things are important to include in all of this. We're talking high level here today.
Yeah.
Red, yellow, or green? What do you got? Where are they at?
I think it's yellow across the board.
Yeah.
Yellow across the board. I mean,
with the RV, you mean?
Even with, I think it could be red if they don't get a plan in place that at least identifies that timeline. I think that's the key is, hey, how do we cover these expenses for at least the first 8 to 10 years, while our portfolio is being stressed potentially. Sure. Post that, I think they could be in good shape. Now, if they do no planning whatsoever and just keep doing what they're doing at 7.25%, and all of a sudden, we talk about this a lot, market takes a dump and their portfolio goes from 910 down to 700, it's going to be hard to sustain at that point.
Yeah.
So I would say yellow with some proper planning, proper budgeting, red if they do nothing.
Ron and Val need a written income plan. They need a plan for how they're going to use the RV. They need a portfolio stress test to see exactly how their investments are positioned, because that $910,000 that we're talking about can go up and down. These are all the types of things. Go to riseandretirement.com, get a 30-minute phone consultation with an advisor here. We'll walk through your scenario, and we'll see you next week on Rise and Retirement.